Like many others, NieR Automata is one of my favourite games of all time. It was my first Yokotaro experience, if you want to call it that. So I wasn't prepared to be engulfed by themes of existentialism and dread, accompanied by a haunting yet elegant soundtrack. To say it was profound is barely scratching the surface. Automata was unique, outlandish, and accomplished things that I hadn't seen done before in other games. I love to talk more about it, but I guess I'll save that for another video if I ever decide to make it. Upon finishing Automata, it left an itch. I wanted to learn more about the world it was set in, the characters, the mythos, and I was lucky enough that I had NieR Replicant to look forward to in a couple of months. Although I knew a few familiar characters would appear in the game, and that certain events would occur, I wasn't prepared for the emotional rollercoaster this game would take me on. In Replicant, you play as a young man living in a remote village, who for the purpose of this video I'll be calling NieR. The story sets him on a course to search for a cure for his younger sister, who has fallen terminally ill. Along the journey, he's accompanied by characters such as Vice, Kaine, and Emile. I'm particularly fond of this cast due to how diverse it is. NieR is a calm, collected young man who goes out of his way to help others. Vice is a mysterious book full of wisdom, yet possesses an inflated ego. Kaine is a coarse young woman who's portrayed to be cold as much as she is reserved. And Emile is a kind-hearted and gentle young boy who's plagued with a power that turns everyone he sees into stone. I really enjoyed watching the bond between NieR and Vice develop and flourish, or seeing the banter shared between Kaine and Vice, or the heartfelt moments shared between Kaine and Emile. It's really nice to see them all interact with each other, despite how drastically different their backgrounds are. Although they might argue or disagree with each other often, they stick together, and it's a testament to how strong their friendship is. There are 5 endings in this game, one of which are exclusive to this version upgrade, as Yokotaro puts it. As a result, there are at least 4 playthroughs required. Replicant surprised me with its gameplay and how familiar it felt to Automata. I knew that the combat would be improved, but I had no idea how much it would be repurposed so that those like me who were introduced to the series through Automata would be able to get as much enjoyment out of the game, whilst also staying true to the original. There's a couple of gameplay features that I like, such as the ability to ride a boar, being able to harvest plants, and fishing. Farming isn't really anything special in my opinion. I mainly used it to grow crops and sell them. Fishing is a mechanic that I think almost every JRPG I've played has had, and I love it. I don't know why, but there's something about fishing that's really appealing to me, even though I'd probably suck at it in real life. Anyway, you have an array of weapons in your arsenal. One-handed weapons, heavier two-handed weapons, and spears. On top of that, there's an abundance of magical abilities, which are all unique and suit different playstyles. I wasn't able to delve deep into using most of them, but each ability is useful in its own right. However, this being a version upgrade of a 2010 game, it certainly shows its age. It's pretty hard for me to recommend this game to people, given how repetitive it is in nature. There are a lot of fetch quests and a lot of backtracking. A prime example would be the design of the quests, most notably the side quests. For some reason in the second half of the game, nearly every single side quest urges you to collect materials from the junk heap. I wouldn't have too much of an issue with it, but it heavily relies on RNG, and it's especially annoying that you have to complete many side quests to unlock weapons or earn money to buy weapons so you can unlock the rest of the game's endings. I wish I could say I enjoyed replaying the game 3 times, but in all honesty, it felt like a chore at times. Though I appreciated the added context to certain parts of the story, it did feel repetitive having to do the same thing multiple times. I think multiple playthroughs are better handled in its sequel. They are different enough to give players an incentive to keep playing, on top of adding extra context to the narrative. The game is also riddled with loading screens that at first I didn't mind, but it just got so annoying after a while. Especially in Facade, where there's a boarding animation for using their form of transport, and it's not skippable. Having said that, ending E almost makes all of that worth it. I don't think the story would be as good as it is if it weren't for Keiichi Okabe's masterful work on the soundtrack. Like with Automata, the game provides a myriad of memorable tracks, not one that I dislike, and each evoking a certain emotional response from me. Hills of Radiant Winds, I think, is a very upbeat and idyllic piece of music and perfectly encapsulates the feeling of bliss you feel at the beginning of the game. Kaine's salvation, I think, suits her character very much, and without spoiling much of her character, I think it makes more sense why she has that theme as you learn more about her. I'm no expert in music though, so I'll leave the analysis of the soundtrack to more professional people. I knew that I would enjoy this game's story, but I greatly underestimated by how much. I knew that the game would be gut-wrenching, but I thought I'd be able to overcome it, having played Automata. But I was wrong about that. This game doesn't hold back on its punches, and I don't know why I thought otherwise. Without giving much away, I'll say that the game has made me feel very sad on more than one occasion, and for that reason I highly recommend this game, mostly for its narrative and soundtrack. It hits hard and leaves an impression on you. However, you should be wary of how much patience is demanded from you. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video. Comment your thoughts if you have any. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter, link in the description. I like drawing and I post art on my Twitter. I'm planning to start streaming in a couple of months as well, so stay tuned for that. See you in the next video, or whenever I do see you.